Hey everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, we are going to talk about Splunk query language, and then we're going to run some searches, and then we're going to save those searches as a report in a Splunk instance. So then I'll show you how you can do that on your instance as well. So this is my Splunk login. So once you log in, this is how it's gonna look like to you. You can click on the left side, search and reporting app. For the most part, we'll be using this app as our living home app and to run our queries for the most part. So once I click on this, it's going to take me to the search page where we can run our searches. So if you remember in our last video, we had index that was related to security logs, or I would say secure log for a mail server. And I'm going to just use as index. If you remember, I talked about index. Index is just like a container that contains our data and saves our values like a key value pairs instance in a database. So what was our index? It was index equals secure, I believe. Yes. What I'm doing right now here, index is my field name and the field value is secured. So this is my key value pair in the database that's already saved. So I'm going to run a search to get the value for secure logs from the database, and this is a key for that database. So let's just run this search, and we did not find any data. Maybe we had our index put it wrong, or maybe let's just try to search with a different time. So let's just try to do all time to see if we have the data. So yeah, we had a time problem since we didn't have the data in last 24 hours. So that's why we just had to do it for all times. And over here we have, it says verbose mode, like I'll explain in one of my last videos, that verbose mode is just like it's going to run each and every line to search for the data that we wanted to search it for. So I preferably use smart mode, and that's what you can use as well. All right, so over here, you see we just added index, and we pull the data from our database server. But the recommended inclusions from Splunk is that you should at least have 2 metadata values in here so that we can at least let Splunk know that what actually we're looking for. When I say metadata files, if you remember in our last video that we had to add index, host, source, and source types. These 4 fields are metadata fields in any of the ingested data in Splunk. So already we just had index, 1 metadata file, and at least we should add another one as well. So let's just try to add that. So we had index, we can add either source. Let's just add a source. So you can add source 2 ways. Either you can type in like source equals like this, source equal, and then you can copy this over to, just try to use double quotes in here. This is the one method, or the other method is that if you just go to the field itself on the interesting field on the left side and click on the field itself, it's going to take back as a source over here. So let me remove just one that we have manually added, and let's just run it all time. So right now we have 2 metadata files. So if you notice over here, the default space value in between these, the field values, or I would say the search time, is AND. Like if we don't see any value over here, it's going to be presented as an AND space holder in here. But if you really want to use OR, we can just specify that. You don't need to specify AND value, but you need to specify OR value if you want to. This means that, I mean, this is not a good example, but what if you have another index like this? Let's just put it this way, index equals Linux. Let's just say this way, right? So what I'm telling Splunk that I need to either find my data in index secure, or I want to find my data in Linux index. So this is what I'm using right now, or for. If I do this, like if I remove or, this means that I want to find a data, whatever search filter I'm going to apply after this, I want to find that data in Linux as well as in secure data. Means if the field or my search term or whatever I'm going to apply should exist in both of these fields, then of course I want to see that as a result. If not, then I don't want to see it. So if we run OR, it's going to pull data from both of those. So this is like a prayer. Now let's go back to the original form, control C and secure. This is our data. We have the data, so we know this is a field value key pair, means key and value pair, and that is saved in the database. So we always want to make sure that we have our key value pair as inclusive as we can, so that we can tell Splunk that okay, this is specification that we want to look for. And over here, if you notice one thing, let me change this to source from lowercase to, let's just do uppercase. We didn't get any data. So that means the field name is case sensitive. Let me go back to lowercase s, and it's giving us a data right now. But let's change this to key value to check if this is a case sensitive or not. So if we do uppercase C in here, we should be getting some data. So means key or the field name is case sensitive, but not the field value. So field value is case insensitive in Splunk, but the field name itself is a case sensitive. So you want to make sure whenever you have these kind of situation, don't forget to consider this thing. This is how it's going to be saved in the database. All right. And so right now, if we have, let's click on this. So if you look on the left side, we have interesting fields. And it shows us 5 more fields in the data as well. So what are those 5 more fields? So if we click on this, it's going to take us to where we have different filters. We can select all the fields in here. We can deselect all the fields. And over here right now, it's showing us all the fields over here. Means we have any percentage of fields that's gonna show up in here. But what if we want to just look for the field that has more than one person, and this is what it's showing you. So I would like to just see all of those fields in here, and I can sort it by clicking on here in the percentage. So what I want to do is I want to have these fields populate in my selected field. So what I can do, I can just select over here, like I can select from the checkbox PWD and user, and I can just close it, and we'll see that how it's gonna pop up. So it's right here on the left side, selected fields. And if you notice right here, now we do not have 5 more fields anymore. We have just 2 fields anymore in there because we pulled 3 fields in on the left side in the selected fields. Now, like I explained, I'm running this search in a smart mode, and we have 9,829 events. What if we run in a verbose mode? So it's the same thing since we do not have big data. And what if we run in a fast mode? I'll run the same thing. But if you notice one thing over here, if we run a search in a fast mode, we have very few interesting fields on the left side. And if we run in a smart mode, we're going to have fields as well as the speed of the data. So just make sure that if you really want to get some speed over the data completion, then you can run in a fast mode, but I don't recommend for the most part. You should be running this search in a smart mode. This is a best practice as per Splunk. Now let's talk about Splunk fundamental of search syntax. So Splunk consists, Splunk command or syntax, query command syntax consists of 5 fundamental components that we can talk about. So the first thing in Splunk is Splunk search term, like what term we're looking for, actually what is something that we're looking for. And the second thing is that command, like what do we want to do with the results that we're going to get from our search results, right? That could be like, we can say that either we want to perform some charting, we want to calculate some statistics, or we want to format or value or some sort of thing. So that could be the second thing, commands. And the third thing is a function, like what do we want to do with the results? Like how do we want even to chart those things into some sort of functionality based output. So I'm going to show you all of those things in a bit. And the next thing is that argument that we can apply to the search, and then we can get some results based on this. And of course, clauses is just like, how we want to group or rename our data from our results, and then we can just, show in our statistics or in transformation or hub data. Okay, so let's just talk about one by one. Search term, that's the first component of Splunk search query. So let me add source back in here. So we have the source, at least we have two default field, at least two default metadata fields in Splunk query. Now what I want to do is I want to find my mail server from the data. So right now, if you look at here, we have 9,829 events, and I want to find a search term mail server SV server 1 from this data. So this could be my first term. Let me just put that in double quotes so that you consider it as a string value. So run it. So we have 9,829 events. This means that our entire data has this mail server 1 value in it. So this is our first search term in the data. So that this is the first component of our search query language. And the second thing is that, like, okay, I want to run some statistics based on my user just to find out what command they ran on this server, right? So let's jump to the next part. So what I'm going to do, since we got the results, now I'm going to take those results, and this is a pipe command in Splunk that you want to run some statistics or commands from the results that you just get from the first part of the query. So what I'm doing pipe it, then I'm going to do stats. Stats is a statistics command, and it's going to show us right now over here that how this works. And stats is a command. So this is a command that we wanted to run on our search that we're going to get from the first line. So stats is a command. That's the second component. So first component is a search term. Second component is a stat. That's a command. Then now I want to have some functions. So what I want to do is I want to have our command. Let me say that DC. This is our function that I want to run. DC means distinct count, and you can bring arguments to this parentheses. So what I want to do, I want to get some distinct count of the commands ran by the PWD users. So what I want to do is command. So just make sure, like I explained, field name are case sensitive. So I want to make sure I add them as this. So what I'm doing over here, running a command, running a function on it, distinct count with this command, and I want to present as, let's say, distinct let's say that distinct command count, and I want to run it by. So by is a clause. This is the next thing. So this is a distinct count, a command count. Let me say that. So this is our argument, and this is our clause. So after as is a clause, and this is how I want to show my distinct count as, and by, let's just use another clause over here, by PWD. Let's just use, like I said, PWD. It should be uppercase, and it represents is over here. So what I'm doing right now here, let me explain it one more time. I'm running a search on this index, with this source, that's a source. So this means that our index can have many sources, but we're just trying to find the data from this source. And this is our search term, means I'm just trying to get the data from this mail server. And then I'm going to want to show this data as in some statistics table. So I'm running another command on it from the data, and I'm applying some functions over here. And in functions, I'm using a DC function of Splunk. There are many functions in Splunk, and we're gonna go through that. And command is an argument that I'm putting in this function, and I'm then getting the data as renaming it, let's just set it this way, and by our different users. So let's just run this command. So if you notice right here, it transformed our data from our raw logs to a tabular form, or I would say in statistics table. So right now, what we're doing over here, let me just interpret this results. So we have PWD. So these are the users directory in the mail server home, and then these D Johnson, then Mayan, and then N Sharpie. These are the users that exist under home directory. PWD is a home directory for these users. And what I'm doing, I need to get a distinct count of the commands ran by this user on the mail server. So each of these users ran just one command in mail server for the entire time. If that makes sense. So again, distinct user, D Johnson, this user ran distinct commands on this server in this much time. So this is a statistics table. So for example, if your manager or your peer asks you, hey, I'm doing some audit, can you get me some data that I want to see how many users ran how many commands on this server, just to check the audit, like, what's going on in the server. So this is how you can do that. So you can just run this command, find out, and then you can present this to your manager. But like I said at the start of this video, that would like to save this as an report. So what you can do, since we have a statistics table, we can save as a statistics table, as well as we can use visualization over here. I mean, I love this visualization. Like, let me do this. So you see, it's going to show us in different visualization, but that's going to be in next level of videos. But let me just save this statistics results by the first command that we just ran, and we'll learn how 5 components of Splunk query works. So let me save this to our report. And what do you want to name this report? So let me name it the first report on Splunk query language. So SPL query lesson demo. Let me respond. That's demo. Okay. So I'm going to save it, and it says that your content in statistics, you can add a description you want to. And time picker is the one that it's going to show up as an time picker in the report. I'll show you how this works over here. So if I save it, it's asking me that either you want to share it or you want to just keep it your personal, or you can schedule it. Means it's going to run every time, or the cron job that we want to run to. And the acceleration embedded, these are some advanced network concepts I'll show you later, other words. So I want to see this report. Over here, you see it says time picker is all time. That was the option that it was asking us for. Do you really want our time picker over there? So I said yes. So for example, if I want to go back like 24 hours, would not have any data because our data was there around last month. So let's just do last 30 days. We should have some data because we uploaded this data on last month. So this is our first report that we just built based on the Splunk query syntax. So if you want to share this report with your peer, your manager, you can just share this with this link, and they should be able to access this with this link. So what if I get this link from my peer, Control C, and I go to Splunk right here? It's going to show me the report over here. And if you want to track back how you can access to this report, you just come back on the home page, click on search and reporting app, and then click on reports. And over here, it's going to show you a report here that this is a report that we just created. So either you can click on the report just to get to directly to the report, or you can just click on the open in a search and it's just going to show us the basic search that we had on the back end of this report. Yeah, that was it. It's just like a building block. I hope this will make sense, and then we're going to start building our more search queries with basic concepts, and then we'll take you to from advanced level reporting and then advanced level skill set. I hope this video helps you to understand how Splunk query language works. If you guys have any questions, please do comment in the comment section or reach out to my Instagram or my Facebook page, I would say, and I'm happy to answer your question. I'm happy to help you on this route. All right, thank you very much. Good day.